This morning, Pope Francis presided over Easter Mass in St. Peter's Square, where he was joined for the first time in 3 years on this holiday by 50,000 of the faithful. The Pope calling for peace in Ukraine, saying the war is, quote, cruel and senseless. Pope Francis has been outspoken against the war, in the latest example of the head of the Catholic Church having a say in the arc of world history. NBC's Thompson has our Sunday focus.
Leading up to this most holy of days, Pope Francis has used his spotlight to bring attention to the war in Ukraine, having a Russian and Ukrainian carry the cross together on Good Friday, kissing the Ukrainian flag from a devastated Bucha, reminding Catholics and people all over the world of the agony of war, while celebrating the joy of the risen Christ. Father Tom Rees writes for Religion News Service.
Does the war in Ukraine temper the joy of Easter?
Well, I think it really puts the whole Holy Week and Easter season into perspective. When we see Christ on the cross, it reminds us that there's still suffering in the world today.
The Pope making clear his concern from the start, says Phil Palella, who covers the Vatican and Pope Francis for Reuters.
He actually went down to the Russian embassy to talk to the ambassador to express his shock about what happened. Hardly a day goes by that he doesn't say something about Ukraine suffering.
Francis often preaches in gestures, but in this crisis, it's his words that have been powerful, pleading with God to stop this massacre, rejecting Russia's characterization of a military operation, calling it a war, and describing Ukraine as a martyred country. He has mentioned Russia just once in a prayer service. And while he has spoken to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, we know of no such call to Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Pope has not said Putin's name since the war began.
It's quite clear who he's talking about. A potentate, a autocrat who's caught up in some anachronistic claims to national interest and is provoking and fomenting conflict. Well, everybody knows who that is.
The Vatican never takes sides in the sense of calling out leaders or countries by name, but there's no doubt about which side he is on.
Francis does not shy away from world affairs. In 2014, he helped broker a thaw in U.S.-Cuba relations.
I want to thank His Holiness Pope Francis, whose moral example shows us the importance of pursuing the world as it should be, rather than simply settling for the world as it is.
He is not the first pope to play a role on the global stage. John Paul II praised for his efforts to bring down communism in his native Poland and Eastern Europe. Pius XII criticized for failing to publicly condemn the Nazis in World War II. Now Pope Francis says a trip to Ukraine is on the table as he seeks a stop to what he calls the rivers of blood and tears.
He's playing the long game. He wants to be in a position where he might be able to be a mediator to resolve this conflict and bring about peace.
And Anne joins me now live outside of historic Westminster Cathedral in London. Anne, good morning and happy Easter. As Pope Francis spoke this morning to the billion-plus Catholics around the world, how much of that message was focused on Ukraine?
Well, the words came, and they were extraordinarily strong, Willie, after the Easter Mass in his address to the city and the world. And in that address, the Pope called this an Easter of war and said there had been too much blood and violence. He called Ukraine a war-torn country and said that it had been dragged into the war. And then he asked the world, please, let us not get used to war. They were very, very strong words. This comes after a meeting with the Ukrainian delegation last night before the Easter Vigil Mass, and I can tell you throughout St. Peter's Square, we saw lots of Ukrainian flags. Willie?
And how extraordinary it would be if he does make a trip to Ukraine. Anne Thompson with a beautiful shot at Westminster Cathedral on a beautiful Easter morning. Thanks so much.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.